So, one of the blessings that I enjoy is the fact that I'm constantly surrounded by greatness. The people that I've gotten to know since moving back to Canada, the people in my family, to be honest, I'm constantly surrounded by greatness and people that have achieved a lot. And our guest is no different. Station came from Trinidad, ambitious, bright eyed, and bushy tailed, as most people are, focused on a goal. So the question is, how do you come here as a newly landed immigrant and end up the CEO of one of the biggest not for profits in Canada? Takes some good skill. So let's dive in and get to know Station Frederick. It's 5 p.m., people. So, Station, before we get going into the interview, I think it's very important to give you your flowers because though we have history, I've known you when you were coming up through the game, and I remember when you started Braids for AIDS. And now I look at you, and you are a full CEO of a company. Let's give the credits where the credits are due. Okay, you're woman of worth. You're one of the top 100 most powerful women in Canada. You're the president and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Toronto. You are the founder of Braids for AIDS. I have seen articles on you with the alumni page with York. I've seen you with articles on major media outlets and everywhere. So essentially, since I met you to now, you have become one of the most amazing, inspirational, and powerful women across Canada. And quite frankly, if I'm honest, across the world. And you're a shining beacon of what a person can do when they put their mind to something. So I want to both say congratulations for what you've built and thank you at the same time, because what you've done is you've created a yellow brick road for everybody else. And you've also inspired so many people to know you have no excuse, right? You came from Trinidad and you set the standard. So let's jump into that because I'm very curious how this came. So I was reading one of your articles and it says, right, because I had to. And one of the things that I found interesting is you said at 8, you
At
had
eight.
made it clear that you were going to go abroad and work with children and youth. So
Yeah.
how did you know at 8? What is it about working with children and youth? Where does that come from?
Yeah. So, I would say even before the age of 8, the way that I engaged in play, and I engaged with whether it was my Barbies and my two older brothers, G.I. Joe, I was always sort of saying, I'm going to be the nurse, I'm going to be the
Mm,
protector. And my family, had a nickname for me called Florence Nightingale. And if you know about Florence Nightingale, is one that was helping people. So
mhm.
in having that nickname, it was really about innate who I am as a person, was around helping people. And I lived what I would consider a fairly privileged life in the Caribbean. In my community, when cable came out, when computers came out, I was one of the first, and my brothers and my family were one of the first families to have that in like my immediate community. And so
Oh,
I,
okay.
so I saw the privilege that I have, and I saw what how others did not have that level of privilege. And I think, and it's just so very topical right now. Of course, there's the Michael Jackson movie, and
Mhm.
it really took me back to like that time where, I saw in my primary school, when we had our sort of after year concert or mid year, we would sing "Heal the World," make it
Mhm.
a better place, right? And so seeing some of the imagery on cable, and again, I was in my community, I was one of the first to have cable, so to be able to see those music videos, and
Mm.
and even before cable came to the Caribbean, my uncle who would come from New York would record on VHS. You know those VHS where you
Hmm.
will
Yeah, I remember.
that yeah. So I would see what some of the disparities that children were living in, and I just felt drawn to it. So yeah, by the age of 8, I was just very adamant that I was going to go abroad, um, and to support children and youth. So that's a little bit of the story of this little 8-year old knowing that.
So
Yeah.
wow. So it's interesting because at 8, if I'm honest, I'm worried about toys, GI Joes, and Legos, and not even paying attention to the differences. I mean, you see it, so you know we have a little bit more than somebody else, but
Yeah.
you don't also care to make that a point of kind of
Mm,
helping the world or creating equity in the world. So it's
right.
very, for you to have that mindset very early is great. So you
Yes.
take that, you're 8 years old, you take that, you find your way to Canada. So what's
Yeah.
the mindset here? How does that translate? Because you then work with the YMCA?
So before that, and I mean this is where we met. So let's go
Mm-hmm.
back. Let's go back to that. But so I moved to Canada, got a scholarship for chemistry at the University of Ottawa, with the sort of plan, as immigrant parents, become a doctor,
Uh,
a lawyer, an engineer. Actually, my
there it
mom,
is.
my mom kind of said not a lawyer or politician. You could be anything but those two things. Um, but so the plan, in really kind of appeasing my parents, because yes, I'm smart. So it was like got this scholarship for chemistry, and I love chemistry even up to this day. But it was like do a science degree, go on to medical school, and sort of to appease the part of me that wanted to work with children. Well, then you could specialize in child psychiatry.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I
and
see.
so that was the part of like what I was going down. And then I did an elective in psychology. And so then I realized that the pathway that I could have gone through didn't have to take that route of
Oh,
doing
okay.
child psychiatry. So I had a conversation, an interesting conversation with my dad, and he was like, "Baby girl, once you could pay for yourself and get off of my payroll after after graduation, you go follow your heart, and the money will come." And so that's what I did. I did a psychology piece. Then, and while I was at the University of Ottawa, that's where I started up the Kilimanjaro Black Students Association.
Yes.
And it was through that in which I connected with you all at Carleton, who was university that was doing much more than what the University of Ottawa was doing in terms of like the Black student experience and
Yeah.
whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And so then graduated, and that's when I got a job within the HIV/AIDS field. And it's so interesting. Again, when you think about who I am um, at 8 years old, who
Hmm.
I am at 40 plus, but who I was even at 50. So I looked back at a document. I was going through some boxes, and I saw what my vice principal of my all-girls school wrote about me. And she
Okay.
was like, Station is a vivacious, creative young woman who cares about her community and excels, in her academics. She successfully represented our school at an HIV/AIDS competition with the Rotary
Wow.
Club. So there's the Braids for AIDS, and getting with this HIV/AIDS program, after
Mhm.
university, to look back that even in my high school, I was engaged in HIV/AIDS work. So I am who I am throughout
From
um,
time.
my life. And so, yeah, so then did that for a bit, moved to Toronto, worked at the Y, had the moved up quite quickly through the ranks at the YMCA.
Mhm.
Um, one of one of one of the most impactful people in my life, though our interactions were very small. And I say small in terms of it would be so sporadic of when I would have engaged with this individual. So his name is Medhat. He unfortunately passed away
Oh.
just recently, maybe maybe about 3 weeks ago, in which he passed away. But picture this young woman in her late 20s
Mm.
deciding to book a meeting with the CEO at the Y at that point in time.
I was gonna ask you about this.
Yeah, and I told him I wanted his job.
I read that because of course you're speaking about Maddie, of course,
Yes.
was CEO of the Y at the time. And so yeah, we really have to break this down because in it you do mention, you tell him you want his job and he doesn't brush you off, but he asks you why 3 times.
3 times.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, break it down for us. Before we even talk about the actual conversation, what made you decide you're gonna do this?
Because I really felt quite passionate about the work that I was doing, like locally in the YMCA, and like I wanted to do this across the association. And I think it wasn't about just saying like I want your job and I want you to leave the job right away and give it to me, but almost like that mentoring, like tell me what I need to do, give me some sort of caveat piece, right? Now he did, when in that meeting, he did like a little double take of it, and he said, Stachen, give me about 10 years or so. I did the calculations in my head. I was like, this don't work for me. Yeah, but again, in this conversation of just 3 Ys, as you would have seen, I came out of that meeting knowing that I did not want to be the CEO of the Y. Not at that time. I'm not saying never, but it was, no, I don't think. And the reason why, and I will share how my thought process went. When he said why, because then I said, well, I want to have a larger impact on the youth that I serve. And then he said, but do you know that the YMCA doesn't just serve only youth? There's seniors, there's newcomers, there's swimming and whatnot, right? I was like, okay. And then he kept on again to the why. But why was this so important? And again, it took me back to that 8-year-old girl that was like I want to dedicate my life to children and youth, and I don't want anything else sort of interrupting it. So I left that, and I mean, I still had maybe a 1% piece of, okay, maybe I could still take his job in 10 years. But I continue having conversations with a number of different sort of senior leaders. I always talk about my forever boss, Erica Taylor, who she says a lot of times she doesn't like to think of herself as my mentor, because she thought I was just so intelligent and always bringing ideas, but she wanted to think of herself as a sponsor. Make sure she speaks my name in various rooms, give me opportunities for growth, all those particular pieces. And so, yeah, in conversation, she said, oh, Station, I think it's probably going to be more like 20 years. Because there's people who've been in the Y for years and they don't get into that particular like position or whatnot. And that they might have other people in the riding, current, chief program officers or whatnot. So I just rested it. And then I saw this job posting for being the head of this very, very small organization. But I felt so passionate about the organization, like I just a pull to this organization. And I said to myself, two things that I said. I'm going to grow this organization, take it that this small organization, only 3 staff, and I'm going to grow it with the plan in 7 to 10 years that I will be the president and CEO of one of the largest youth serving organizations and oldest. I said that, and I actually said Big Brothers, Big Sisters I didn't say of Toronto, I said one of the Big Brothers, Big Sisters. So from even 2016, I knew already what my next job was going to be. So that's a piece of where I am today, knowing exactly where I wanted to be, even from 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. A lot of people tend to pick the next step based on whatever seems possible once they're in a seat. But to be able to see it ahead of time, and you're not even in the organization and you're already calling for it. Explain that mindset. What puts you in that mindset? How are you able to be so sure? What makes you so confident that this is it and you don't have that wavering faith?
I'm a child of God. Child of God. And I know, and my mom has always said this, like, if you put your mind to it, if you lay your plans out to him, you will achieve it. And it has manifested itself with like a proven track record that if I say it, that it's going to be. And so I carry that. So it's like I talk it out loud. I tell people. Even I look back at a performance report at the old organization that I was to my board, and I said, my staff tell me that I run the operations like it is a Big Brothers, Big Sisters. So even in a performance report, there's that piece. So it's like if people like, when you write things out, when you say things out, like people may call it the universe, right? Some people would call it God. Like, well, of course I call it the person God, but it's putting out that this is what I want for my life. And I think I am, of course, intelligent. I have a proven track record. So it's also not just like I'm saying something that I want to achieve, but not doing the actions to get me to that point is also like key. They say faith without action is nothing at all. And so,
Amen.
Yeah, you do that.
Amen.
Yeah.
I love that because a lot of people get caught up in the faith and they don't do the action part. So
Yes.
Break it down for me. Once you've made a decision, this is what you want, you believe it, and you're manifesting it. What is the work? What does that look like? What is the planning? What's the execution? How do people get down like Stachen?
Yeah, be very strategic in what you align yourself to. I don't do things that not to say that I am every single move I'm calculating, because I am also genuine in my interactions with people. But like, be strategic. What if this is what I want to achieve? well, what are the steps that I need to do? What sort of profile do I have to have? What is the brand of myself that I want to have? And ensure that, yeah, I'm doing the things that will put me in the right spaces and places to achieve that. Now, again, with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, I did not know anyone as part of the organization.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't, but I was working with youth across the city of Toronto. I scaled this organization from a $250K organization to a $5 million organization when I left it. So if you look at then, well, where Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Toronto is, well, I had already done that, right? In terms of being at a 5 million organization. I was already working with young people. I was already getting government grants. I was already. And so it is then easy to say, well, I am the best candidate because I have already. And so that's it. So I would say for people, it's like, look at job descriptions of like what that next job that you want to be in. Mm-hmm. And then you say, yeah, I am doing this and I'm doing that. So again, position yourself to think. Like I was having a conversation with someone earlier on, and that's the feedback. I said, if you want to get into development roles and stewardship roles, like understand your market. Mm-hmm. and what is needed in that market. So if the job market to be a development officer, like grant writing is something that is so critical right now. And so for you to come and say, well, I want to be a development officer and not build that skill, you're setting yourself up short. I had a conversation with a young person, and it's surprising. Like a lot of people are surprised that I do take phone calls, or like if somebody reaches out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram and say that, hey, I want to have a conversation with you. I'll have a conversation with people. But, a young lady this is last week, Friday, I had a conversation with a beautiful, dynamic, intelligent young woman. And then I asked her, well, you want this job. Can you tell me your experience in this? She said, well, the only experience is what maybe at university I did. And I said, so it means to give a tip. It's like, listen, even if you have to, at this point in time, go and just tell somebody, I want to be an intern. I'm not paying myself. I just want to be an intern. And of course, we know that young people want to get into a job right away. I absolutely get that. But she also said too as well that, she thinks she's comparing herself from her other classmates who were more mature students that got jobs. And so they were already in places. So I said, just right now, you still live at home with your parents. It's fine. Ask your parents give me, maybe 6 months. Let me go to a venture capital company and tell them I want to intern. Free of charge. Get yourself in the door. First and foremost, if somebody is getting an email from someone saying, I'm going to work for you free of charge, it's going to make them take a look, right? That somebody has this ability, the same way that I went to MedHat and just was like, I want your job, right? Have that boldness and say, I just want to get experience. That's all that I'm asking for. I'm not even asking you for a job long term. If you like me and you want to keep me afterwards, great. But what I'm coming for is here that I can have the experience to take me to the next level. And so, yeah, if in this economy, people are not going to want to hire people that are, I don't know, or I don't have this, because it has to be an environment where people are working
Yeah.
on the ball on the first day that you start.
Yeah.
So it's really, to me, looking at what you, where you want to go, and ensuring that you're doing all those actions beforehand.
Okay. I like that. And I think it's very important too, because I don't think a lot of people utilize some of the resources available to them. You don't necessarily have to go back to school, but there's online places you can practice, you can use tools, etc. Coursera to LinkedIn Learning, you name it. Take advantage of those resources that are to you. Don't come empty-handed. I like that mentality.
Yeah.
Would you say your why has changed since, because now you're in a CEO's position? Your scope is a lot larger than it was before. Is the why the same? Has the why changed?
My why has always been the same. Never
changed.
Never change. I do all that I do for the young people that I serve. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And I have, of course, a little girl, so she's now part of my why. But I also, but even that, I want my daughter to be in a city where other young people are thriving, so that she has healthy relationships and healthy engagement with people. So the why still exists, of like supporting children and youth.
Definitely. So one of the things that I've come to realize that's really big is motivation dies out. It's discipline that keeps you going. And having a strong why keeps you moving with discipline. And so I think one thing that people need to take from this is your journey, though your path has changed because you were true to your why, you realized it may not be YMCA, but it's Big Brothers, Big Sisters. So it didn't pigeonhole you. I think a lot of us, we work with the what before we talk about the why, and then we get stuck. So I think it's very impactful what you did. And it's amazing that your why hasn't changed. I think that's amazing. I do have one question though, and this is not professional, but I have to ask because I'm married to a Trini, a convent Trini.
Yes.
So I have to ask, were you convent too?
I'm a convent girl. Listen, it was so funny. So I was at a conference last week, and it so happened that two women that were also at this convention. So they are SJC girls, but from India.
Oh.
Right.
Oh wow.
So
small world.
So yes. So definitely the SJC crew are the ones that are changing worlds all the time. So I'm a proud SJC girl.
That is amazing. I had to ask. So is she and her sister, and they're both doing their things. Absolutely. So it seems like it's a thing.
It's a thing. My mom, she's an SJC alumni, Deputy Auditor General of Trinidad, the Chief Operating Officer at Scotiabank, SJC.
Wow.
It's
makes excellence.
It does. They say our Latin sapientia, it's scientia, which is science and excellence, is of the SJC model.
Look at that. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about you in your seat, from the leadership seat. First and foremost, what are your leadership principles? What are the guiding pillars that you use as a leader?
Oh, that's a great question. The guiding principle that I lead with is being transparent and accountable, but also engaging. Of course, we talk about an open door policy. I think Medhat influenced that. Erica influenced that, of who I am right now, in terms of that open door policy where I can have conversations, and I'm not afraid to break down things to anyone. And I mean that um, even to the young people that I serve. And I'll just give an example. It's one day, this is many years ago, uh, at the YMCA, and this was even before I became management in the YMCA. So I was a frontline counselor, and this young person did not didn't want to sign in to the facility. They just wanted to walk past the doors and the scanner, and they just wanted, because some young people, when they engage in various systems, they don't want to be tracked, they don't want to be monitored and whatnot.
Definitely understand.
Right?
Understand. Yep.
Fully. So I pulled the young person aside and I said, listen, like, and I'm gonna sound very Caribbean, and I said, just allow me,
Mm-hmm.
right? I said, the reason why this particular system exists, this electronic system, is in order for us to have the numbers to prove to our funders that we're meeting our targets, that will result in additional funding. So I don't care if you call yourself John Black, but every time John Black comes through this building, we need to track your numbers so that we can be able to get the funding that will take you to the Raptors game, that will take you to this. So I am that type of leader that, like, I'm going to break it down to you to understand the systems at play so that I can get people moving along. So I think one of that, and this is part of, like, I guess, my change management strategy, is being as transparent as possible with people until it reaches a legal matter where I cannot share. I tell people I am transparent until the point that this could be a legal issue that I would share with people. So understand. So very collaborative. I for the holidays, got some cards from my staff, my current staff, and just seeing how it was such an engaging process this year to be engaging with me as the CEO. Yeah, that I will bring people along, try to bring people along. But I'm also that leader that if I have to make tough decisions by myself, because people are not moving as fast as it needs to be, because the organization as a whole depends on a decision being made, I am going to make the decision which is in the best interest of the organization. Because people will have feelings. They will have feelings about,
always.
Of course, I don't want to do this to this program. I don't want to do this to this staff. I don't want to do this. This is, yes, absolutely. But at the end of the day, the framework that you're like, what would be in the best interest of the organization as a whole? And so, it's having tough conversations, being open, being transparent, being community centered in all that I do too as well. That helps sort of my leadership style.
Okay, I love it because two things that I heard, and I think they're both very effective tools for any organization, especially for success, is you have strong emotional intelligence to take the time with the kid and explain to them, hey, this is what we need, and understanding why it is they don't want to sign in. Because somebody else would say, if you don't sign in, you're not allowed here, and then close the door. But you kept the door open. You did one of the most important things, the WIFM, what's in it for me. Everybody responds to that. And you gave them an option of being able to participate at a comfort level for them. That emotional intelligence is something huge. And that feeds into the psychological safety that seems to be clear with your team. That open door policy, they're willing to collaborate. They know at certain points what needs to be done will be done, whether they like the decision or not, but you give them a chance to be a part of the process. Very powerful tools to create effective organizations.
Yeah.
So if I was to ask people on your team, what are your number one pet peeves, the things that you do not tolerate, period, what would they say?
What would I not tolerate? Period. Fraud.
Logically, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. What I would not tolerate. I think actually my staff would say I'm quite tolerant, actually. They would say that I'm quite tolerant. Well, I mean, I don't, of course, any pieces around discrimination of any folk, like I think that is something, of course, draw the line. I think that's a great question. What is my pet peeve? Oh, this is recorded, so I wouldn't.
We can do. I'll be doing that. It's don't worry.
Yeah, and it, so I think because I'm so understanding, right, of individuals, when others are not hearing me and not understanding, like I get frustrated, right? Like that's my pet peeve, where it's like, how much more can I explain something to you and you're just not getting it? And it's like now becoming like highly annoying. So it's like, so I tell people I am patient, but then when I become like, you like, okay, now you're just being dumb, right? That, like, then I switch. Like, that's when I now become like, okay, I'm just going to answer very, like, not sharply, but just, you're just going to get straight facts. I'm not going to spend the time to go into all this background. It's like how many times I have to explain a concept to like grown folks is where I would say my pet peeve is and again, I'm very tolerant. So if I reach to the point of it, like intolerance, like it has to have probably like 10 conversations back to front with somebody, and then now I'm just, there's no point to engage with you. Yeah.
And that is fair. And that's actually one of the things you learn with team efficiency is once you've dedicated as many resources and help to somebody to be able to help them thrive, if they are just not getting it, you can no longer you can't just pour into an empty well. You have to give to the other staff. So sink or swim. So
Absolutely.
It's very fair.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you deal with conflict then? How do you deal with conflict at work?
How do I deal with conflict? I think I have different strategies. I am someone who's just very action oriented. So I would assess who the person is and how they would be able to take the information that I'm about to share, and strategize, like, how am I going to deal with this conflict? Does it require someone outside of this matter to perhaps be an heir to that person? Or yes, is this person open and willing within that relationship with me, that there's enough trust, there's enough again, emotional safety, that I can have this conversation? Is there power dynamics that exist? So, you know, there is, and I'm talking this too as well from the context of not just staff, but also with boards and with donors, right? There's power dynamics that exist. But I remember years ago, I actually told a funder to take back their money.
Oh, wow. Well, story time. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Why? What made you do that?
Because they wanted me to do something that was against my why. at my core. And I was just like, I'm not going to do it. It does not make sense. It was a program. I was running a program in a prison. As part of our sort of contract with this funder, it was that we had to do research elements with our participants. But I felt that some of the research questions could be very triggering for the youth inside of the prison, because the survey was a survey that was just blanket for all youth. So it had questions about, did this program help you with employment? Did this program help you with your education? And for a young person who would be in prison and they might not see themselves outside of the prison system, like they're not even and it might trigger them, like, I will never have employment ever again. Yes. I'm not going to ask that question, particularly when our program outcomes had nothing to do with employment, right? But it was just a blanket sort of questionnaire. So I told the funder, you could take back your money, no problem. And this was like 100K funding. Ooh. And that was like the most, our highest like donor. So if I said that, like, our organization would have been at like near zero. And the funder came like, no, Stachen, absolutely not. We don't want to take back this money. Like, we will work with you and like we'll scrap this research like component. You and your team develop the survey that you all want to do and we utilize that data. But again, I was so like adamant, like, I'm not doing something that is against my why, to like serve young people in the best way that I could support them. So like, again, in terms of like how I engage, and that's power dynamics. That's a power dynamic there that exists. Like this, if they had said, well, you don't want to do this, bye. Right? So I do assess like a power dynamic, but then like, if I'm not going to feel good about myself and the kids that I serve not going to be well in it, then I'm not going to engage. So so it's also in conversations with board where I have to understand what's the power dynamic that exists. Is it perhaps somebody else that might need to talk to somebody on the board or with a staff or whatnot? But if not, then just straight, honest, open communication about what it is, and knowing. I think a lot of people, if you know me, you know me, right? And I breathe love at my core. So if I'm having a conflict with you, like, it's because like I'm so passionate about something deep. Like, if it usually comes back to something that is my, like, it's my value. Like, if they say conflicts usually arise not just because of thoughts, it's about a value that you hold, and it's an emotion, right? And my emotions, especially in a workplace, like, it's about like the youth. So like, I would get in a conflict, like, why are you not doing this for Black youth? Why are you not doing this for this? Like, so my conflict, so if it's, I wouldn't even say that's conflict. That's just like me asking questions, right? Like, why are we doing this? People may have feelings again and whatnot, but like, I'm literally just like, make this make sense, right? But I would say using my emotional intelligence, understanding power dynamics, seeing who are the best players to really engage and support this conflict situation. But I've really got into what I would consider conflicts with people. Now people have of course had conflicts, right? But I'll tell you, a lot of people who have had conflicts with me have, come back whether it's staff, like I had one at a time, a staff cussed me out. She sure, surely did.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, cussed me out. Um, and today, I mean, she was by my house last year, with a kid. You know, so I just like, at the end of the day, I'm so lovable and adorable, right? You'll
stay mad forever.
Yeah, you'll come back. You will. I think people will see my point, because, like, again, I'm moving from love. I'm moving with care. But of course, I think, and we say this a lot of times, is that people are coming. They don't sometimes hear what you are saying. They are receiving it through the filter and the lens of their life.
Yes.
In that. And so even when conflicts happen, I still remain open to the person. And I think that's the piece. I always remain open, because if you hear what I'm saying, from what I'm saying, it's just pure facts, but not necessarily through the lens of what you're dealing with, you might receive it differently. So I always remain open for reconciliation and for people coming back and being in my backyard with their little kiddo, because it's always coming from a good place.
It's the confrontational approach that you're taking, and being very, very aware of the person at hand. And I think it goes a long way. And you're right. Everybody will take the time to see what exactly happened, and then they come back after the fact. You kind of hinted to it, and I was actually very curious about it, because from your position, you always have competing interests, and sometimes some interests may align, but sometimes what's needed by, those you may have to respond to versus those who report to you may differ. How do you prioritize the expectations and the different hats you wear? How do you prioritize?
That's a great question. How do I prioritize? There's people who I have to respond to. These are
definitely,
yeah. And so there is that of just, as the nature of our relationship, there's an expectation of urgency when they do message, and so that is there. Of course, funders themselves too, they have deadlines, and we have to respond to those. So there are those stakeholders that there's an urgency, and it has to be responded to. But I don't think I've been in a situation where I have not been available and responsive to all. Like, I don't know, I think I shared again for my birthday back in February, a little screenshot of a message that I had received from a staff for my birthday that made me very emotional. And I mean, this is a junior staff, right? And at the bottom of the thing is, she said, no matter how busy you are, you make time for everyone. So yeah, I just do. So if a staff is messaging me, they're in crisis, someone tells me there was a staff that had left the office and was in tears sometime, and it's like, yeah, like, people's emotions, like, I think too, might trump me responding to someone else because someone is in crisis, and I'll just send an email and tell people, hold on for a sec.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Life happens.
Yes.
And so, yeah. But I think I've prioritized my different stakeholders. But I think it's funny that you talk about this, but recently I've just been taking on a lot. Yeah, and I realized that I need to be able to have some additional like resources to support me in managing these different people. So perhaps might be needing a stakeholder engagement officer that can prioritize and engage with certain groups before it reaches me, right? So that I am only dealing with, so that would be serious. Like, but if somebody wants to RSVP for an event, I do not need to be
You don't need to be the one.
responding
Yeah.
to it. So yeah, it's just creating a pathway of where people around me can step up and support. And I think, yeah, so more and more I think at Big Brothers Big Sisters I'm getting to that place where like I need that sort of like prioritization support. And I have some good senior leadership that I'm able to pass on to as well in the time being. But I think for them as well, I'm also seeing that it could be a lot to them. Though some of them are like, give me more. I'm like, the fact that one told me recently, and she said it so casually to me, but she probably doesn't know that it has impacted me, where she's like, yeah, I've been dealing with migraines for like 3 weeks now. And she's like, I don't even want to say it, but yeah, so she's like, I took Advil, but she took so much Advil that it is impacting her stomach lining. And I was just like, that's a sign that you need to stop. And I don't want you to send me a next message asking me if there's anything that I need from her. The question should be coming from me, what do I need to do for you? If somebody's telling me that they have a migraine, they're taking medication to the point that it's having side effects, maybe cut off the other part, just FYI, cut off the part about the exact. But I said, if a staff is telling me that they are taking medication that is having some adverse side effects and want to be taking on more work, like I am not, if she messages me about anything about if I need any help, it's like, yo, can I help you? Because let me take something off of your plate.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So that it's I've been able to prioritize for a while, but I think there might be some additional support that is needed, even though I have a great team around me.
I again, that goes back to your strong sense of emotional intelligence, because I'll tell you, I've worked in places where if somebody gave that information but said, I'm willing to take on more, the most they'd get is, oh, okay, well, just be careful, but here's more. But to be able to have that sense, it's time to stop, maybe it's time to scale back, to look after them, that help builds that psychological safety where they feel committed to want to do more. And I think it speaks to your leadership that even in that condition, they want to give more. Means they love not only what they do, but the environment that you created. So congratulations on creating a really psychologically safe environment for your staff. So that's the staff. But like you just said, you're even realizing you may need to bring in a new position to help you, a stakeholder management position, just to help with the work. So what do you do now? How do you balance work and life? What do you do to take care of yourself? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, anybody knows me, I love soca, so I would be dancing somewhere, but I do enjoy my daughter a lot, and this whole notion of play, I think it's an absolute phenomenal piece for parents. If parents should not see play as like a distraction from their work, but a vital part of helping bring creativity and relaxation. So, my daughter I sit right here on the table and I'll just bring it. I have some fake tomatoes and some coconut here because she was engaging in a full little sort of dining experience.
Oh yeah.
And whatnot. And so, yeah, she's lots of fun. Of course, I do some travel too as well. I do my prayers. I run. I started running. I'm sure again you would have done your research and I've talked about dealing with fibromyalgia for years. And through a gluten-free diet, the symptoms of my fibromyalgia has significantly decreased. And so, yeah, now being able to run, I did my first 5K last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Back in the gym, being able to do my cycling. All of those things are, giving me that sort of like joy and relaxation. Now again, in this little bit, because I am seeing that sort of out of balance and not being able to do my running as much as this is where like I came to that sort of like like I need support. And I'm someone that's again a part of my sort of emotional intelligence piece is knowing like, I'm reaching my limit. I need to ask for help, get the resources where I need to get it. Just do what I need to do.
Nice. I like that. So before we leave, a couple more questions. The first one I'm going to ask you is this. For the little Stachen who's 8 years old, who has those dreams, or who's 15 and deciding what they're going to do next, what piece of advice, or even somebody who's in university and just figured out they want to be Stachen, what's the advice you have for them?
Well, I'll give what my mom gave to me, and she said, shoot for the space and the planet, so that even if you reach the stars, you'll be amongst the stars.
Yeah, that's facts.
Right?
Set the motivation. Yeah.
Definitely. Set your goals high. Set your goals high. Don't even look at your circumstances. Now again, so of course, yes, I lived a privileged life. I might get emotional, right? But
okay.
So I did live a privileged life. But I dealt with a disease that I did not know for years. Almost half of my life, I lived with a disease with severe neurological challenges. And there was times where I'm like scared. I'm like, I don't know what's happening with my body. If I would lose my brain, if I would, lose my ability to walk, all of these things. But I had absolute hope for a better life, and I knew one day that it will get better. So that is what I would say to anybody. It will get better. A teacher of mine used to say, this too will pass. And I found what was wrong with me. That's a whole other story. But having people in my corner, a doctor that I found who believed in me, believed what I was telling him about my symptoms and whatnot. And he just said, I don't know what it is, but I promise together we will find it. And so just finding a person who you could hold on to. And that's why I'll bring back to Big Brothers, Big Sisters, which I love, the mission and vision of this organization, but just to connect young people to caring adults, because just by his words, it's I'm going to have hope that I'll figure out what was wrong with me together, and that he would believe me. And I've had other, people, again, Erica, Medhat, all of these people that just was a caring adult. Even if they don't consider themselves a mentor, they were still a caring person to me, and that thing. So find people in your community that want to be a caring adult to you, and there is one. I promise you, there is one.
Yes.
Just find them.
Yes.
That's what I was saying.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Very powerful message to send to kids. And especially dealing with the demographics that you have, it's kind of hard to find that hope. I think one thing that's even inspiring for me listening to you is when you tell yourself it's going to be okay, or I'm going to do this. We all have that inner voice where we're like, we're going to do this. And then there's that sounded down in the back, like, you wish. But it sounds like your voice in the back of your head is like, yes, we're going to do it. And so I think it's an amazing thing for you to have that ability and to teach people that if you believe it and you keep saying it, it will manifest. You just have to do the work and your mindset will put you there. I think that's powerful. I'm not going to dive into, and we'll keep it private for your privacy, your conditions that you had, but I think it's also very important that you stuck to the truth of, I'm going to get through this challenge as well. You had supportive people in your life, and then you just kept working at getting to a solution, which you have, and you're thriving. So for the many people out there who are going to listen to this, you are what you tell yourself. And this is a person who is showing you that you are what you tell yourself. And that is powerful and amazing. Stachen, I want to thank you for taking the time today. Your insights have been amazing. And for myself, I think they've been really inspirational. It's one thing to know you, but we haven't talked about like goals and pursuits and things that we want to go to. We've always just been friends, but we haven't dug into it. So getting to understand the mind behind the magic, I think is a very powerful thing. I'm also very thankful for you because you are a walking example of what it means to have a why and to work your life by your why. And it shows that your results show for themselves. Please keep changing the world every step of the way that you are. I thank you again so much for your time. And yeah, we hope to just see more greatness. I'm looking for more articles and more awards because I know they're coming. And we're looking out for big brothers, big sisters. If there's anything you want to promote, you want to share for people to know about your organization or yourself, please let us know.
Absolutely. So in Toronto, this might be going viral all over the world. Yeah, there is 400 kids on a wait list that is looking for a caring adult to step up for them. So if you are that person that you think that, hey, I could just have a conversation with a kid. We're not asking people to be social workers. We're not asking people to be clinicians. We just want caring adults, particularly for our young Black boys and all young people. But there's a huge wait list of those young Black boys. So please step up so I could see those young boys smiling.
Doesn't matter where you are in the GTA, anywhere?
Anywhere in the GTA, because we know many people may be working downtown Toronto, but then living in Ajax, living in Pickering and whatnot. But there's kids in the outskirts in Scarborough. So if you're living in Ajax, it might be easy for you to hop over and spend time with that, or bring the young person to your community. Get them outside of the 4 blocks that their community is in, and expand their horizon. Please, that is my bag every single time that I get on a mic. It is always to ensure that those kids have somebody having a voice for them.